And here to tell us more about the mobility of the future is an expert from the Innovation Centre for Mobility. Florian Lennert, thank you so much for joining us here at Tomorrow Today.
Hi there.
Now, what do you think? Do you think e-bikes are actually going to revolutionise how we get around?
I do think that they will be an attractive alternative for quite a few people in future urban mobility. As the gentleman mentioned, it's nice if you show at a meeting, but you're not sweaty from cycling. You can go on the e-bike, or perhaps you're older and you're not quite as fit, but you can still, it still allows you to cycle in the city.
Now, what about yourself? Have you an e-bike?
I don't have an e-bike myself. I prefer to cycle under my own steam. I don't have a car, though, but I often use an electric car-sharing vehicle.
OK, so very eco-friendly altogether. Now, you're not alone in not having an e-bike, although it is quite popular here in Germany, also in China. Not every country has good infrastructure for these bikes. So what about the US, for example? What will happen there?
I think that's a very good question. I think that, in different cities, different regions, we have different climatic conditions. So, of course, cycling isn't as attractive in some areas as in others. In the US in particular, you're seeing a rise in these systems as well. And if you look at cities such as Boston or San Francisco, there's a strong cycling culture there. So I think you'll see that trend also continuing in the US.
Now, electric cars are finally coming into their own. What is left to be done in terms of technology and infrastructure to really push them to the fore?
Well, we need to still work a little bit on bringing the price down. Electric cars are still relatively expensive compared to normal cars. That's because the batteries are expensive. In addition, we also need to work a little bit more on the range of the vehicles, but that may also mean to make them lighter and smaller, which would allow for cars and urban transport to actually achieve higher ranges.
How eco-friendly are these cars really? I mean, when you think of the electrical energy to charge these high-tech batteries.
It is absolutely clear that they will only make a contribution to fighting climate change, for instance, if we power them entirely from renewable energy. So once we move to 100% renewable energy systems, then electric mobility can make a lot of sense, as they can also provide storage capacity to volatile energy sources such as wind and sun.
OK. Now, your area of research is in future scenarios for intelligent transport in major cities. What would be the optimal transport mix?
I think we really have to look at whether we can continue having private automobility in the city. If you look at many major urban centres around the world, we have huge congestion issues, and we need to think about different mobility systems that allow people to use individual forms of mobility, but use them on demand and not actually by owning a vehicle which is standing around 90% of the time unused, and thereby creating space problems in the cities.
OK, and it's not just about cities, of course. What about long-distance travel?
We will probably need to look at different options for long-distance travel. In urban centres, electric mobility can work. You rarely travel more than 100, 150 kilometres a day, and these ranges are now possible with electric cars. For longer range, perhaps we will need to move to fuel cell technology that can work with hydrogen, for instance, which we can also generate from wind or solar power. So there will be a plurality of engine types or technologies that we can deploy for long-distance travel.
OK, and finally, Florian, how will we be getting around in 100 years' time, do you reckon?
Well, recently 2 companies have brought a flying car out to the market, one that turns into a helicopter, the other one turns into a light plane. And we do think that at some point we will have that type of aerial mobility, private personal aerial mobility as well.
Absolutely brilliant. OK, Florian Lennert, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.